responsible for safe navigation while following the passage plan. The composition of the team can vary. It can range from a solo watchkeeping officer that completes all of the duties of navigation alone up to a system of multiple officers of the watch, lookouts, helmsman, pilot and master. The master, being the overall in charge, needs to be kept informed of progress of the voyage. The information that is required by the master is normally recorded as standing orders in the master's night order book. Navigating safely means the position is monitored at all times. The navigation instruments are working satisfactorily. An appropriate lookout is maintained. The pre-planned course is actually made good. Navigational warnings are monitored. The latest weather reports are obtained. The bridge team is responsible for communications with charterers, owners, other vessels in the vicinity, VTS, port control, pilots etc. At sea, the vessel is operational throughout the day and night. The vessel is navigated in accordance with the requirements of the planned passage. The officer of the watch maintains the navigational watch during his hours of duty as per watchkeeping arrangement established by the master. A series of activities are carried out during each watch. For maintenance duties, some of the crew are on daylight office hours. The officers also have maintenance duties outside of their sea watch. The chief officer supervises the deck crew and maintains cargo equipment in the morning after his 4 to 8 watch. The second mate does his ship safety officer duties and maintains the navigation equipment before his 12 to 4 watch in the afternoon. The third mate maintains the ship's safety equipment in the afternoon after his 8 to 12 watch. When the sailor on watch is engaged in day work maintenance, he should only be assigned duties that facilitate his ability to report to the bridge quickly. In port, the watches are doubled and the deck crew work 6 hours on, 6 hours off. This facilitates cargo operations and security duties. The watchkeeper should know the location and operation of the switches for the deck, navigation, and searchlights. The watchkeeper should know the location of the general alarm activation point on the bridge. The watchkeeper should have an understanding of the fire detection alarm panel, and will be expected to investigate where the alarm is coming from. The watchkeeper should learn the meanings of the different alarms from the VHF-DSC, and the location of the distress alert button on the set. The watchkeepers should know the sound of the off-course alarm, and what actions to take when it sounds. The watchkeepers should know the operation of the engine controls, the sounds of the main engine fault alarms, and what actions to take when it sounds. The watchkeepers should know the location and operation of the engine emergency stops, and their conditions of use. The watchkeeper should know the location of the man overboard alarm, and the MOB button on the GPS. The watchkeepers perform fire patrols of the ship at intervals, during the watch, and at the end of the watch, and reports the results to the bridge. The 4 to 8 watchkeeper usually turns on the galley stove for the cook in the morning. When the ship's engine or steering has malfunctioned, the watchkeeper is responsible for hoisting the not under command signal of 2 black balls in a vertical line. The watchkeeper is responsible for the hoisting and lowering of flags as required. The watchkeeper will be engaged in checking hatches, tanks and openings are secured weather tight. Checking ventilation is provided where required. Checking tank pressures are within acceptable limits, where required. They check deck cargo, where carried, is secured properly. When handing over or taking over a navigational watch at the end of the watch, the watchkeepers hand over the navigation of the vessel to the relieving watchkeepers. The information exchanged must include the ship's position, the effects of current and the wind, weather and visibility, course and speed, the compass error, status of the navigational equipment, and the traffic in the area. The international regulations for preventing collisions at sea require that every vessel should at all times maintain a proper lookout by sight and hearing as well as by all available means appropriate in the prevailing circumstances and conditions so as to make a full appraisal of the situation and of risk of collision. The officer of the watch is responsible for the maintenance of a continuous and alert lookout. This is the most important consideration in the avoidance of casualties. The lookout must be able to give full attention to the keeping of a proper lookout, and no other duties should be undertaken that could interfere with that task. In certain circumstances of clear daylight conditions, the master may consider that the officer in charge of navigational watch may be the sole lookout. On each occasion, the master should ensure that the prevailing situation has been carefully assessed and it has been established without a doubt that it is safe to do so. The keeping of an efficient lookout includes an alert all-round visual and oral lookout to ensure a full appraisal of the current situation, including the presence of ships and landmarks in the vicinity. Close observation of the movements and compass bearing of approaching vessels. The identification of ship and shore lights. Ensuring that the course is steered accurately and that the wheel orders are correctly executed. Observing of the radar and echo sounder displays. Observing changes in the weather, especially the visibility. Keeping a lookout by hearing includes listening for engine noise or shouts from small wooden vessels that are hard to detect with radar. When navigating at night, it is vital to preserve night vision and not be dazzled by your own ship's instrument or navigation lights, so these should be dimmed accordingly. Any prescription spectacles should be worn and kept clean. Sunglasses and/or a peaked cap may cut down glare, especially when looking towards the sun. Watchkeepers must be vigilant for unreported navigational hazards, and report them. Watchkeepers might see a buoy where they are not expecting to see one. That should be reported immediately. Parachute rocket flares have been known to be visible, in favorable weather conditions, over considerable distances, as far as 28 miles. The rocket propels a red flare attached to a parachute to 300 meters, and burns for 40 seconds. The watchkeepers should take a bearing of the flare while it is lit to know the direction after it goes out. When reporting the direction of objects and sounds, report using relative direction from your ship. Objects could be ahead, fine on either bow, broad on either bow, and on either beam. For objects abaft the beam, it could be astern, fine on either quarter, and broad on either quarter. Relative bearings can also be reported approximately, in points. We imagine the quadrant from the bow, or the stern, to the beam, to be divided into 8 equal arcs. So broad on the bow is the same as 4 points on the bow. The direction a vessel is approaching from is very important in assessing the risk of collision. Without going into the details of the collision regulations, if you can see the red light on an approaching vessel anywhere in the black arc, and the officer of the watch is not doing anything about it, check if he's awake, because it's going to be a problem. Radar should be used in restricted visibility, also at night in clear visibility, when passing through areas where there were known to be numerous structures which are not always adequately lit, like Soldado oil field in the Gulf of Paria, Trinidad. The radar should be kept in use for the purpose of keeping a general lookout in coastal waters and other areas where regular traffic is likely to be encountered, especially at night. If a radar SART is activated by a vessel in distress, and the distressed vessel is in range, a series of dots appear on your vessel's radar display. The duty to keep a proper lookout applies also when a vessel is at anchor, especially if there is a strong tide running, or if other vessels are likely to be passing by. Most importantly, a proper lookout means one which takes in the whole 360-degree panorama. Crew assisting the officer of the watch should regularly report what they are observing,